What is up, everyone? Today I'm gonna do something a little bit different. This is my first reaction video I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna react to someone who a lot of you may be familiar with. This is Hornet King, and the video I want to react to is massive yellow jacket nest inside of a wall, thousands of wasps, wasp nest removal. Go check out the Hornet King. He is a very cool YouTuber, and he does a lot of cool wasp nest removals, and he's really, just go check him out. He's really cool. So let's start this here and give it a watch.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Hornet King channel, and in this video I'll be removing a massive German yellowjacket colony that made its nest inside of a dentist office's wall.
Wow,
The founding yellowjacket queen had actually found her way office's wall.
Just look how many layers are in the nest, and there's actually looks like a wire going through the front of it. That's really cool.
The founding yellowjacket queen had actually found her way into the wall space through an exterior outlet that allowed access through the brick wall on the outside into the wall cavity.
Wow.
Once inside, she carved up her empire inside that space to a whopping colony size of about 2,000 yellowjackets.
Jeez, that thing's huge.
The dental practice had yellowjackets flying around inside that office space, and they decided to call me to try to see if I could locate the nest, which I did, and I pulled it out. And as with all the colonies that I remove, they get 100% recycled here at my house by my animals eating the larvae, the nest being decomposed in my compost pile, and all the adult wasps that are sucked up inside my vacuum are eaten by a local skunk here on my property.
Wow.
Here's the video. Check it out.
Since I collect wasp nests, it's a little, not aggravating, but a little disheartening to see such a huge nest. It's not going to waste. It's not going to waste at all. But I like to display them, not throw them somewhere and have some eat it.
So this client had called me and noticing yellowjackets flying around their dental office space. They couldn't tell where the yellowjackets were coming from, so they called me to come and locate where the nest was and remove it if I could find it. I took a walk on the outside of the building and noticed yellowjackets flying in underneath of this outlet cover. So I knew this is where they were going in from, so I knew the nest had to be inside that wall space. That's where they're getting in. Let's see if we can find out where they're going from there. So I went inside and used my FLIR imaging camera to look for a heat signature, and I found one right towards the bottom of this wall, right behind where that outlet cover was. So I poked the drywall a little bit just to see if it was soft. It wasn't soft, so they hadn't started chewing through the drywall yet. And I also put my ear on the wall to see if I could hear the rustling sound, and I did actually hear quite a bit of rustling, so I knew the nest was right behind this spot. Poked a hole with...
Why? Now, okay, while it's frozen, here's something I won't understand ever in my life.
And I did actually hear quite a bit of rustling, so I knew the nest was right behind this spot. Poked a hole with...
How does it know to freeze in that same exact spot? Okay, we're back.
Hole with my keyhole saw, and yellowjackets started pouring out, so I knew bingo. That's right where the nest was.
I may eventually
So when I start making cuts,
I may eventually turn to the vacuuming method when I do my removals, which I hope there's more removal videos for me this year, because all my other nests I did remove, but I didn't have time for a video for different reasons here and there. But I'm hoping I can make more removal videos this year.
I like to make one massive cut right off the bat. I like to make sure that's exactly where the nest is. So even though there's a heat signature there, and even though that's where I hear the yellowjackets, that doesn't mean that that's where the main part of the nest is. So I cut this about 4x4 hole, and of course that's where the nest was.
Wow.
Tons of yellowjackets inside this colony. This thing was about 2,000 individuals strong. So vacuuming up as many as I can while I'm cutting the hole is paramount. I don't want a bunch flying into the space while I'm doing this, so I try to keep the vacuum running and keep the nozzle collecting as many as I can. Unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast. You're going to have yellowjackets flying around the space anyway. So nobody was actually in this dental practice at this time. This was on a weekend.
and I was able to get this out.
Yeah, I hope it was. Imagine getting your jaw probed with a metal hook, and then you start seeing wasps flying around the TV above your head they're trying to distract you with.
While they were outside office hours. So the yellow jackets flying around inside this office space, and I kept all the lights off because I didn't want them, since there was like cathedral ceilings, I don't want them flying up into the cathedral ceiling. I had to have my ladder set up all over the place. But there was one big bay window, and that's pretty much where they all went. So once I was done here, I just went around to that bay window and started vacuuming them off of it. But you can see that they were chewing away quite a bit of insulation, because you can see the backing, the insulation backing, which is that paper, and then the insulation batting, which is the yellow cotton candy looking stuff. So they had chewed away quite a bit of that insulation and carried it outside and got rid of it. So that's actually what they'll do, is when they're inside of a space and they're trying to excavate out that cavity to allow more room for the nest, they will chew up insulation, batten board, insulation board, whatever's in their way to expand their nest bigger. They'll chew it away, and that's including drywall, studding, wires,
Look
any
at all
of
those
that. They'll chew at it
cones.
to try to move it out of the way so they make the nest bigger, and that's what they did here. They were removing quite a bit of this insulation.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's probably, I see 8 cones, but there's probably more up in the
So what they'll do is they'll actually kind of like pull it apart little by little, and then they'll ball it up, and then they'll carry it outside, fly off about 40 yards, and drop it outside. So somewhere in this client's property, there's a bunch of batten insulation and like little balls.
That's a huge nest.
So a lot like a subterranean yellow jacket nest you guys have seen me remove, when they're excavating out these spaces and they run into like a root, or in this case a wire, they'll clean off that wire, and oftentimes they will chew through the insulation of the wire. So they'll chew through like the plastic or rubbery material on the outside of the wire casing, and they'll chew away at that, and it'll get really thin. It'd be pretty dangerous if you think about it, because if those two wires touch each other inside of there, that could cause a fire. So there is a concern about that when you have a nest inside your wall, is they can actually cause a fire, not directly.
Hold on, I am sorry, I forgot to cut my light on. And it just went out. Okay, we're back.
By them chewing on the wire, but if the wires were to touch. So that's always a concern.
That is awesome.
So this yellow jacket
nest.
you'll see here, she actually has some material for meat that she was going to be feeding to a larva. It's really neat to see. It's just like,
Yeah, wasps don't, they can't eat solid food like meat, so what they'll do, they'll chew it up for the larva, and when they feed it to the larvae, in turn, they, produce a protein called chitin, which, the wasps actually need to live, so the larvae, in a sense, run the whole nest.
like bright pink. So I'm not sure exactly what she was chewing on, whether it was fruit material like from like an apple or a peach or cherry, berry, or something like that. But she had something there for larva, which she got sucked up. She never got a chance to feed it to them. So I need to cut this hole just a little bit bigger, because I want to make sure it didn't go over into the other stud space. So even once I cut out here, I cut right up to the stud and then cut down and got it out. And I could see against the stud that there was no yellow jackets flying in or crawling in through there. Sometimes you'll see a little bit of a cut in the backing of the drywall, so that's where they can be making a path in and out from one bay to the other. And they weren't doing that.
Oh, crap.
So separating a couple pieces of comb, I wasn't able to pull this out in one solid piece just because there were several wires going through it. I just decided to take them apart layer by layer, and was able to get like 3 comb out at a time. So you can see that I had pulled these apart, and usually there's a bunch of adult yellow jackets in between them that are able to fly. Now these ones were a lot of newly hatched adults. They weren't trying to fly out, and some of them were males, so they weren't all that interested in attacking or flying out from the space. They wanted to stay with the nest itself.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll dig up a nest and I'll break it because there's a tree root growing right through the middle of it. And now when I dig nests up, I dig it up really slowly. But I have never removed a nest from a wall, which I know I'm going to very soon. It just hasn't happened yet.
People often ask what the white things are inside of the comb. Those white pieces are actually silk caps, and that's what the larva will weave that to kind of make like a cocoon for themselves to go through their metamorphosis to turn into an adult wasp. So if you see a lot of those white pieces, those white silk caps on a nest, that's going to be a lot of adults who are going to be hatching really soon. And I've showed in some of my videos, if I pull off those silk caps, it'll show different stages of development of the pupating adult. So some of them will be still creamy looking like a larva, some of them will be completely developed into like a full adult wasp, and other ones will kind of have like in between. They're slightly larva colored, but they have legs and things. And that is a big, big nest. There were so many adults in there. I did find the queen in this one, but I didn't get a shot of her, unfortunately.
It may be just the lighting, but their nest color looks just like an eastern yellow jacket.
People always ask, like, what's the difference between the queen and the workers and things? And the queens are just larger looking workers, and they have more robust colors and body structures to them.
Ew.
People always ask what's inside the vacuum. This is what's inside the vacuum. Let me dump it out.
That looks like when Mr. Krabs sold the Krusty Krab. That looks like what they made the Krabby Patties out of. That like gray tar sludge.
For you. Bonk.
Ah, that was a awesome noise. Let's hear it again.
Bonk. Bonk. Bonk.
Let's hear it again.
Bonk.
Let's hear it again.
Bonk. My birdies.
Really pretty chickens. I love it when it tweezes the larvae.
I'm gonna keep a bunch in here for her.
I've never filmed this before, but I do the same thing.
Your bag, right?
Oh, it's not gonna do anything.
What? I have to do this when I'm preserving a wasp nest because when the larvae just start to rot and stink. But yeah, it's a tedious process, especially when you don't want to pull the nest apart. So you gotta take out all the side larvae, but leave some in the middle and hope it doesn't rot and start smelling bad. Stop! Stop! Well, I hope you enjoyed my first reaction. I know I didn't react to anything crazy, but I'll be doing a lot more of this in the future until the wasps come out, and even then, peace.